What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the 2022 year in review for the King Crusoe YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to be going over some of the stuff that happened in 2022 as a whole, being the first full year pretty much that I did YouTube and YouTube related stuff, or really any of my own personal projects to this capacity. Now, you'll notice, obviously, that I am in a new spot of the room. I'm now kind of cubbied up in my closet with my main setup, so I'm recording on my main PC instead of having a secondary location elsewhere in the room. Moved some bookshelves to help accommodate for this new location. And one thing that I will also preface this video, and to an extent preface all videos, is that first off, this is a brand new mic that I'm actually going to be having in the frame of the video because, well, I need to in order for anybody to be able to hear me. And as such, I actually haven't fully come up with all of the settings and whatnot for recording with this microphone yet. So if some things sound a little bit off compared to what you're used to, first off, that's going to be normal because of having a new mic in the first place. But second off, I'm also getting used to things. And as I record a few videos, I'm going to be adapting the settings to fit how they need to make this stuff sound the best. Now, second off, I'm actually no longer using my phone to record these videos. So the exposure and lighting settings on the camera are going to be a little bit weird. You'll notice if I move around a little bit. I don't know how obvious it's going to be in frame or in the video, but I noticed when I was doing a test video last night that the coloring would change and shift a little bit as I move around, and especially as I motion my arms as I'm wont to do. That's going to be normal with this webcam that I have. It's not the best camera in the world. It's nothing that I can actually change. I tried to, but nothing that I can do anything about unless I got a new camera that would be, a significant amount more expensive. Not something that I am going to do. So, with all of that preface out of the way, I am excited to be heading into the new year. But first, I want to talk about what's going to be happening this year because things are going to be just a little bit different. This recap is going to be made up of a few different sections. First of all, I'm going to be announcing some major changes that are going to be coming to the channel, the types of content that I'm releasing, and the way that some of that stuff will be shifting around. And then I'm going to do a section on my general 2022 recap and approximate statistics because not very much of it will be very exact per se. And lastly, we will also be talking about what some of my goals, plans, and hopes for 2023 are going to be, the things that I look forward to, because like I said, there's going to be some changes this year that I am very excited about. So let's go ahead and get into this recap. First off, announcing some major changes for the channel. First of all, the state of affairs will no longer be on the 1st of every month. This recap video is on the 1st of January. However, the recap for all of the rest of my state of affairs is no longer going to be on the 1st. The reason why I am making this change is because one of the sections of my State of Affairs video was talking about the statistics of my channel, the amount of views and watch hours and stuff like that that I got over the course of the previous month. If I release that on the 1st of the month, it's, given upload time and how long it takes to edit and render and get a video up onto YouTube in the first place. There's some things that kind of are inaccurate in terms of the statistics. So it'll go from like the 27th of the month through the 28th of the month or whenever I record or something like that. And that just wasn't working for me. For 2023, I want every month's statistics to be for that month. As such, that means that I'll be recording the state of affairs on the 1st of every month, and it'll come out within 1 to 3 days after that. So that's going to be the first change. And also involved with the state of affairs, there will be some new format changes coming with the state of affairs as well. First of all, I'm going to keep and slightly expand the wrap-up elements of those videos. So some of the statistics and talking about things that released, things that came out and that I'm excited for people to be able to watch and read and whatever else I'm working on. But the other change that's going to come to the state of affairs is that I will be removing the announcement section. That will be shifting to a new location that I will talk about in just a second. The reason why I'm doing this is because my state of affairs felt like they were too full, too bloated in a way. I didn't like them being in the 20 plus minute range. And talking about both the announcements of what stuff was going to be coming out, as well as the wrap up of things that did come out, plus the statistics at the end of the video, I felt like I had to cut out on a lot of things that I otherwise would have talked about or would have expanded on because I wanted to keep those videos brief. So now I'm taking out the announcements and just going to talk about pretty much just wrap up in those and be able to say a little bit more about each thing in there so that, the videos are still at a typical video length for my channel without being too bloated. But if I'm, removing the announcement section of the state of affairs, what am I going to be doing with the announcements otherwise? Well, I'm going to be adding a new series onto the channel called Fortnite on the Isle. And what that is it's going to be a bi-weekly update series. I got some engagement and some opinions, and a lot of people were not a fan of the idea of me doing a weekly update. They told me why, and I can understand why, but I wasn't keen on the idea of not doing any form of extra updates at all because, like I said, I wanted to change my state of affairs quite a bit, so I needed something. As such, instead of doing a full weekly update every single week, I'm just going to do an update every other week, so every 2 weeks, which is what a fortnight is. So that's where that series is going to come from, and that's going to make up for what is coming out of the state of affairs. Instead of in the state of affairs video going over everything that I plan to come out over the month, I can break that up into a couple different pieces every month instead, and in the Fortnite on the Isle, talk about the stuff that I plan to be doing or working on over the next couple weeks. So it offloads a little bit of that from the monthly wrap-up videos and also allows me to talk about those things in a slight more detail and also in another, I guess, less formal format so that I don't feel like I have to be like as on top of everything and I can just kind of talk about what I'm working on as I'm working on it without having to feel like I have to have everything more or less done to be able to make any announcements. So that's another reason. Plus, like I said, it makes the state of affairs shorter and gives me a little bit of something to talk about in the bi-weekly updates as well so that they're not just 2-minute, like, hey, this is what I've got going on, goodbye type of thing. So, in addition, I also have discovered that over the last few months, I like being able to talk about some other stuff that isn't just what I'm reading, like in the monthly reading wrap-up stuff, or just what I'm working on, or what is released, like I did in the State of Affairs. I want to be able to talk about a couple additional things every once in a while, like what games I'm playing, or, stuff like that. But I don't really have anywhere to talk about that unless I were to write blog posts about it, which I could do, but I want to be able to add a section into a bi-weekly update series to be able to talk about stuff that I otherwise wouldn't. So that's the other thing that Fortnite on the Isle is for. I'm very excited to be able to start doing that so that I can be able to talk more about what I'm actively working on, every other week. So that will be fun. In addition to these two changes, the book binge, my main series, which has had a video come out every week for the past year, which, well, except for April and May, where a video came out every other week, and that was because of work-related reasons. I'm not going to actually use that excuse again this year, but that's nothing that we need to talk about in this video. The book binge will also be seeing a little bit of a change as well. The most major change, I believe, according to my notes, yes, the most major change that I will be making with the book binge, at least the weekly series, is instead of coming out every single Monday, I'm going to have them coming out every single Tuesday. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to space them out a little bit more because my fortnightly bi-weekly update series will be coming out on Sundays so that I can record them on Saturday morning or even Saturday night so that they can come out on Sundays. That will make my life easier, and as such, I wanted the book binge to come out on Tuesdays. Plus, I feel like a lot of the booktube channels that I follow release stuff almost every week on Monday as well. Every Monday, whenever I release a video, I feels like there's a half dozen or a dozen other booktube videos that came out as well. So I decided I would offload that a little bit and shift when my videos come out by a day, just to, not fill up people's feeds too much on the day that people, not just booktube, but also other YouTubers as well, like to release stuff. So that will change. I will also be shifting the book haul videos from it was almost always on the second Friday of every month. I'm now going to be doing the book hauls on Thursdays for a similar reason, to kind of more evenly space out the releases on my channel. And whether it's the first Thursday or the second Thursday of the month, it's not going to be super consistent. It's mostly about when and how I can record those videos and make sure that they're getting up on time. But book hauls will come out on Thursdays. Also, will be coming out on Thursdays. Is occasionally I'll have additional special episodes of the book binge coming out on Thursdays as well. So not only will I have an episode every Tuesday for sure, I'll also sometimes have episodes on Thursdays. And I mention this also specifically because January through February, I'm pretty sure there will be a Thursday episode of the book binge almost every single week for those first couple months. I don't know how many times throughout the rest of the year that will be a thing, but at least for January and February, there will be an absurd amount of special edition Friday episodes of the book binge. And a lot of this is because I'm going to be doing my top 10 books of the year and other year-end wrap-up stuff. So stuff that I don't want to clog up my normal book binge episode update series, but still want to be able to talk about, so those will be coming out on Thursdays. So that's something that I'm excited about as well. I wanted to be able to release additional episodes of the book binge in 2022, but I decided I would wait until the new year to actually start doing that because of all the other changes that are coming about. So that is pretty much all that I have to say about the major changes on the video front. Let's talk about a couple changes that will be happening on the writing front. So basically on my website, seasonalproductions.com. The first thing that I'm going to be doing primarily is I'm going to restart the blog. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, and I want to expand on the scope of topics that I talk about. Now, I did do several blogs early in the year, but some of them weren't great quality, and I actually liked doing those for the short time that I did, and I actually had written a few additional blogs to come out like halfway through the year as well, but then a couple of them just never did because of reasons that I don't need to get into. So I'm going to restart the blog in 2023, hopefully be able to do it a little bit more regularly, and I want to expand on the scope of the topics that I talk about. This will include better thought out IRL stuff because my more IRL personal related blogs weren't formatted or written the best in the world, so I want to do that and make those better. I want to include a little bit more music talk. I want to include maybe a little bit of gaming talk depending on what I feel like I could write blogs about that I wouldn't just put in my bi-weekly update series, but that's, just kind of throwing ideas out there for myself. I will also copy my reviews from Goodreads. So my book reviews, I will be copying those from Goodreads over to my blog so that I have something to post at least a couple times a month because I do write reviews of pretty much all the books that I finish, including several books in 2021 and 2022 that I read early on that I hadn't actually had a Goodreads account for until like April 2022. So pretty much all the books that I read before that don't have a written review for them. So I want to go back and write reviews for those books, and then I'll be copying all of them over to my blogs. That's something else. Plus, just whatever else is on my mind that I feel like I want or need to talk about, I will be making a point to hopefully talk about in the blog. Additionally, the other major update that will be happening in the writing front is my fiction will finally be coming back in a more full way. Now, I did do a few short stories and a novella in 2022, and I wrote a second novella that will actually be releasing this month, but more on that in either later in this video or in another video. I'm actually not 100% sure, but the main thing is I won't promise too much in the writing front, but writing is definitely going to be a bigger priority for me this year. So now that we've talked about all of that, let's get into the general 2022 recap and statistics. Now, preface this segment of the video, I will clarify that my quote-unquote statistics for this are actually pretty heavily estimated in a couple fronts because of some videos, like a large chunk of popular videos that I had unlisted for the first little over 2 months of the year that heavily skew things like my views and my subscriber counts and stuff like that. That's part of the reason why my subscriber count hasn't gone up a whole lot over the year, is because I've lost nearly as many subscribers over the year as I have gained. So I'm just going to go ahead and check my YouTube studio real quick to get one update on the watch hours. That's the same, and then get an update on my YouTube channel for my public views for my estimations for the purpose of this video. So, hey, I crossed 3,000 public views actually within the last 24 hours. That is pretty hype. So, what happened in 2022 is I released 89 total videos this year, which is quite a bit. I was initially anticipating closer to 115 or 120, but because of cutting out stuff like a critical analysis and count the classics, which I did a few videos of earlier in the year, but then just stopped working on mostly because I was lazy, so that's my fault. So between stuff like that, I was anticipating about 20 to 30 more videos than I got released, but 89 is nothing to be upset about, and I won't be upset about. But that is how many videos I got out over the year. I'm pretty proud of that. In terms of my views, I'm thinking somewhere around 2,500 to 2,750-ish, somewhere in that range. I'm guessing it's closer to about 2,600 views over the year, because around, I want to say somewhere between 250 and 400 or so of my public views, because I just crossed 3,000, are from previous years, from a few critical analysis game review videos that came out in like 2020 and stuff like that. So I'm not 100% sure how many of those views were actually from this year, but that is approximately what I got. In terms of watch hours, I did get 151 public watch hours in the last year, but keep in mind I'm also recording this on the 27th of December, so not exactly on the 1st of January, but it's, like I said, because I have to estimate some of these statistics in the first place anyway, I'm not too worried about them being exact on the day that this video should be releasing. I am, however, pretty surprised by this stat. If you take how many watch hours I got over the year with how many public views, or let's think about it this way. If you take 151 public watch hours over the last 365 days and divide that by the 365 days, you have just under a half hour per day average, which I think is pretty neat. Nothing too crazy, but I think it's still really cool. I also got approximately a 25 or so subscriber gain. I had hoped to be able to reach about 450. At the moment, I have 431, I believe. But like I said, I am still losing some of those subs from content that I used to do several years ago that I put or privated on my account because I don't want them, messing with my statistics and all of that whatnot. I did release several blogs, like I mentioned I did. They were early in the year. Several of them weren't great, but I did do that. I released 4 poems, which I actually really like all of them, even though they're not quite technical poetry the way that some people might imagine poetry to be, at least according to proper poetical formats. Poetical? I don't know if that's a word, poetic formats. However you want to say that. I did also release 2 short stories, and one of those short stories was actually done in 2 parts, so in a way you could say I released 3 short stories, but since 2 of them were short story in 2 parts, it was really only 2 of them. I really liked the first one of those. The second one, I enjoyed writing, but maybe is definitely a little bit more experimental. I also released a novella as well very early in the year, in January. There are aspects of that I love, but there are, there are some chapters in that grossly need to be rewritten, like, for sure. And the fact that I haven't gotten back to that kind of saddens me, but there are portions of that novella that are rough, but portions of it that I'm still really happy with. And then, also, something that I was really excited to be doing early in the year was I began releasing chapters to the Reign of Ash sequence early on for the very first book, Silent Reign. I have stopped doing that. I stopped doing that pretty early, around in March, and a lot of that is because I'm reworking and rebuilding a lot of that so that I can restart writing that relatively soon in 2023 instead, to make it better and have a more full knowledge of what the world and I guess the overall story is going to be and look like, so that instead of just kind of writing whatever comes and then having to do tons of edits on it afterwards, I can have a detailed outline so I know what things are doing, so that I don't have to do as much editing later, and so that things are generally a little bit more structured and a little bit less messy the first time around. So that is something that happened. enough, I guess, on the recap of 2022. For the very last portion of this video, I want to talk about what some of my goals, plans, and hopes for 2023 are. I do hope to see my video count go closer to the 120 to 150 range instead of the 90 video range. It will be a lot of videos, which that averages to close to two videos close to a video every 2 days, which is it's quite a bit, but I'm hoping to be able to get a video count a lot closer to the 120, like I said, to 150 range instead of around 90. That's something that I want to do. I would also like to see my public view count, instead of being at about 3,000, I would like to see it be closer to 4,000 or more. 5,000 would be awesome, and I actually have very little doubt that I will be able to reach 5,000 or more within the year, but that is my goal for that. And I'd love to see 200 plus public watch hours over the course of the entire year. If I could get as high as 250, which is a pipe dream, but if I could get as high as 250 public watch hours over 2023, that would be awesome. I'd really love to see that. And I'd like to see my end sub count reach around 500. So instead of being stuck in this 425 to 435 subscriber count range that I've been at for probably the last 4 or 5 months, I would like to see that increase a little bit and get to 500 if possible. Absolutely no guarantees on that, because I'm probably still going to be losing subs for the next year, but that's something that I would like to see as well. I do hope to make more blogs, make them a little bit more frequent, maybe not weekly, but at least like fortnightly, especially since I'm going to have to catch up on my backlog of book reviews on Goodreads, because I want to do that. I would also like to release more poems, maybe one every month or two, depending on what it is or what format it is, especially if I want to make more technically poetic poems according to established formats. I would like to be able to release more poems, and I would like to get back on the short story train. Maybe instead of doing one a month, maybe I can do one short story every quarter or something like that, so that I can have just a little bit of something to write, like anywhere from maybe 2 to 6,000 words or so, just a real brief story to do in between segments of whatever other writing projects I'm working on, as a little bit of a break, because I do want to make writing a little bit more of a priority. And then, like I mentioned earlier, I teased at, I will be releasing a new novella in 2023. This month, actually, in January, is when it will be starting to release. I doubt I'll write another one this year, just because they take a lot more time, and I would like to actually be able to work on my more, my fantasy stuff, the actual full-length novels a little bit more. And as such, that means that I probably won't be able to work on novellas. We'll see what happens. I doubt I'll write another novella this year, but there will be another one releasing, and that at least I can be excited for. And of course, just as I mentioned earlier, the Reign of Ash sequence may not see any official scene or chapter releases in the first half of 2023, especially maybe not even in the second half, but I will. My goal is to actually work on some of that a little bit more fully, because I did a lot of world building in the second half of 2022. Like, I spent many, many, many hours doing a bunch of world building and lore and stuff like that for the world. So I'm going to continue to work on that, but I'm also going to actually work on outlines for the novels so that I can start writing some of those this year as well. That's what I'm really excited for. Oh, and I suppose I should add another thing at the very end of this video. I've actually begun gaming a little bit more regularly again, and as such, I've started doing, like, they're not exactly Let's Plays, but I've started playing games with friends over the last month or so, which has been really fun to be able to do, especially since I kind of neglected spending time with my friends a lot over 2022. I did stop doing Let's Plays when I was doing them at the end of 2021, or sorry, at the end of 2020, and then never did anything in 2021. I stopped doing Let's Plays because I hated editing them. That was the reason I stopped doing them. I think this year I'm going to be doing a new thing where, not on this channel, on the King Crusoe channel, I have a second channel now called King Crusoe VODs that I will be linking in the description below, that you can click and subscribe to if you would like. I'm actually going to upload all of the old Let's Plays that have been privated on this channel, uploading them all over there, just so that they're there. And over the course of this year, I would like to spend time with friends gaming, and I want to record some of that as well so that every once in a while I can upload just, you know, segments, VODs, like I said, of me playing games with friends. So nothing that's edited, of course, because editing my Let's Plays was the reason I stopped doing them, so that I can just record gaming with friends because that's fun, and then just upload them without having to worry about editing them. So if that's something you'd be even a little bit interested in, you can go ahead and check out that channel. Like I said, it will be in the description below. So, this video has run on actually several minutes longer than I anticipated it would be. I thought it would be around 20 minutes. It's looking like it's going to be closer to 25 to 30 minutes. But that's fine. This is the end of the video, though. That's the update. I'm very happy to be heading into 2023, still fully in the mood to continue doing videos, and very happy with the content that I have been making and that I will be making as well. Speaking of the description as well, consider, like I said, checking out seasonalproductions.com for my blog. It has a backlog of all of my video content as well, plus all of my writing stuff. So if that's something you're interested in, I recommend you go check that out as well. So I hope to see you around, following along with all the different things that I'm going to be working on in 2023. I hope you all had wonderful holiday season, wonderful Christmas, because I really had a great time over the last month, and a happy new year to you all. I look forward to another fantastic year on this platform. Thank you guys for watching. I'll be back again, I believe on Tuesday, for the first episode of the Book Binge coming out in 2023. See you all then.